And if you're thinking about being with someone where no one can see you, don't. Because this summer, a legend of terror isn't just a campfire story anymore.
They say he smashed his way through the bunk room door, just a mass of flames. Burned alive, cried out, "I will return! I will have my revenge!" He lives on whatever he can catch. Right now, he's out there, watching, waiting.
Who's there?
What happened one summer 5 years ago is about to happen again, and again, and again. The Burning.
Thanks for tuning in to FHMP on this fine Sunday morning. With us today is the Pajama Pants Playa John Grande, who coined the term of what our next few episodes are going to be. We call them slasher-sodes. We're going to talk about The Burning today. What's going on, John? How are you?
I'm doing good, buddy. A little early on this Sunday morning here, but I am ready, willing, and able to talk a little slasher horror, baby.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I know we started with one that I think we both enjoy a little bit with The Burning, and we'll kind of get into that. But how'd your week go, man? Did you get a chance to sit down and watch anything? I know your week was kind of busy, as was mine.
It was very busy, but I did get a chance to watch quite a few things.
Oh, cool.
I was upstate for the very last time last night because my house sold.
Oh.
And pretty much all day yesterday, we were moving furniture, out of the house.
Oh, man.
Sofas, mattresses, TVs. I mean, it was bad, and it was really like my forearm is dead. Like I can't I'm terrified to go to school tomorrow and if I have to write something. Like it's so painful to move my right arm.
Yeah, that's
But through the pain, it was a successful day. And then I hit a fundraiser after. My friend's mom asked me to come, so I showed up for that. It was pretty much at that all night. So
nice.
It was a busy yesterday and a busy week overall, with school and whatnot. But I watched as a double feature last week, towards the end of last week. I watched I Spit on Your Grave 2.
Oh,
and I Spit on Your Grave 3, Vengeance is Mine.
Wow. What did you think?
Well, these were, for people that don't know, these were the sequels to the remake.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I think the remake was okay. I think it had a little too much of the Saw flavor to it.
Sure.
There's a lot of torture in it, whereas in the original, she just kind of killed them and that was it. And I appreciated that better. But I thought the remake was okay. But then with the second one, I was not impressed. I thought the lead actress was terrible. I thought it went too far. Like they basically, it's the same premise, but they kidnap the girl that they rape and torture and whatnot, and they take her to I guess it was Belgium, Germany or something.
Oh wow, okay.
And it was just so weird. And then she eventually escapes, and she's living underground in this church, and she's eating rats for dinner, and it was just super I was like, what the hell is this, and
right.
It just went too far. However, the third one, which I was after the second one, I was like, okay, the third one's going to be terrible too, I shouldn't even bother. I'm glad I bothered.
Cool,
the third one is phenomenal. I
Really?
thought the third one was one of the better new horror sequels I've ever seen. It was really, really entertaining little movie. It's basically the girl from the original Return, Sarah Butler, who is not only a 10 out of 10 in the looks department, but she's a fantastic actress too, man.
Really?
She is the best of both worlds. when it comes to acting and looks, because she is just absolutely a knockout gorgeous woman.
That's what I was going to say about the first one. I enjoyed her.
Go ahead.
No, I just enjoyed her. I thought she was really attractive. She did a pretty good job too. But yeah, I thought she did a pretty good job in the first one. I'm not a huge fan of the first one, but I haven't seen 2 and 3. So now you kind of piqued my interest about number 3.
Yeah, number 3, it's more of a direct sequel to the first one, because the second one has nothing to do with, anything. And I thought it was a bad film, the second one. But the third one, she's basically, it's like, a year or so later, and she's in these like group therapies for rape victims.
Oh, okay.
And she meets this friend, and they click together, and they hate men and whatnot, and they basically like decide that maybe we should teach these people a lesson in these groups that have caused harm to others.
Right,
and they
right.
pretty much get revenge for other people that have suffered rape. So there's this one girl in the group that says, oh, my stepfather touches me, and my mom pretends like she doesn't hear it, and then they figure out the guy's name, where he is, and then they go torture him. And it's like it's actually like really entertaining little movie. I thought it was a really good watch, and I'll probably be picking it up on Blu-ray come October or come Christmas.
Oh, nice. Wow, that good, huh? I'll definitely have to check it out then. Cool. What else? You get a chance to see anything else? I'm trying to think if I actually had a chance to watch anything. I don't think I watched anything. I actually watched The Final Countdown last night. Are you familiar with that movie?
No, actually, I'm not.
It's not a horror movie. It's about a ship in the Pacific who goes back in time somehow and is able to either choose whether or not to stop the Japanese from bombing Pearl Harbor. So I don't know. It was pretty interesting. It's from the 80s. It's got a pretty good cast. It's got Martin Sheen in it, and quite a few other people that you know. So, but it wasn't horror related, so I wasn't sure if I was going to bring it up or not.
That is pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
I did get a chance to watch. I watched The Burning, of course, in honor of we're going to do it today. But
Sure.
I also watched City Living Dead.
Oh wow, nice. Fantastic movie.
It was a good watch. I really like that movie.
Yeah,
I'm
me too.
a big Fulci guy. I think most of his stuff is just so effective, and I love the score, especially in City of Living Dead.
Yeah. Anybody, we definitely have to talk about that trilogy of movies at some point, because I really really like City of Living Dead. I mean, it may even be in my top 10 of all time horror movies. So.
It's a great movie.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, definitely worth watching. What else did you get a chance to watch? Anything else? You said, you watched The Burning, obviously. I got a chance. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing. I only watched about half of it, but I've seen it a million times. So
I've seen it a million times too. But yeah, it's always fun to go back and rewatch it. I watched it on my the Shout Factory Blu-ray.
Yeah, me too.
And man, it's a really good transfer.
It really is. Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get into it a little bit. Unless there's anything else you wanted to bring up.
No, that was it. Unless you have anything else.
Actually,
you saw.
I didn't see anything, but I did want to bring up. Just found out that Horror Hound is having a convention in November. I think it's like the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I can't remember exactly what the days are, but they're having it here in my town. So it's only like 4 miles from where I live, where they're having it. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, that's amazing,
man.
man.
Yeah. So I'm pretty stoked about that. I'll be able to.
Did you announce any guests yet?
Oh yeah, I can't remember the guy's name. The guy from Silent Night, Deadly Night. I can't even remember his name in the movie. He's going to be there. Oh, this is kind of weird because it's a horror convention, but they're having like most of the cast from the American Pie movies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is kind of weird. Obviously not the big names, but like Tara Reid's going to be there. Mina Suvari, the redheaded kid. I can't remember his name. They get Kid in the Mist. You know who I'm talking about.
Maybe you go up to Mina Suvari and ask her to write "sorry" on your Day of the Dead remake.
Right. I'm going to go up and tell her that I know the tongue tornado. See if that helps. No, anyways, but yeah, so that's pretty cool. I'm trying to think of who else is going to. There's going to be quite a few people there, but yeah, I'm pretty excited about it because like I said, it's close to home and all that. So, but I did want to bring that up. So, but that's not till the beginning of November, end of October, beginning of November. So, but anyways, let's get into The Burning, man. Let's talk about it. What's your memories of this movie from when you first saw it?
When I first saw this movie, I I had never really heard about it or about the hype, but I was super into camp slashers at the time because I'd seen the original Friday the 13th, and I was pretty much working my way down the line with those movies until I saw this movie in the video store called The Burning, and this was the old MGM release, I believe. Don't hold me to it. I'm pretty sure that was who released it on DVD.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
And I remember seeing it and looking at the back of it and pretty much like reading the synopsis, and I was like, this sounds like another Friday the 13th kind of movie.
Right.
Let me give it a whirl. And, from the moment I saw it, I was like, I really, really, really enjoy that movie. And I was only a kid at the time. I wasn't so, hip with, producers or directors or makeup artists. So little did I realize that Tom Savini was the makeup artist. So that was even another thing. And that this was the first Weinstein produced film. So I thought that was really interesting. But what did you think about all that?
Yeah, obviously there's been a lot of hype, later since, like Jason Alexander's in it and Holly Hunter is in it, those kind of things. Fisher Stevens is in this movie. So, that was a little bit later. But when I first saw this movie, I absolutely loved it, too. And I think now, going back and watching it, I really think that this is one of the better depictions of summer camp. You know what I mean? Along with, like, Sleepaway Camp or, something like that. I really, it reminds me of what it was like when I went to camp as a kid. So, yeah, due to the fact that this is the first Miramax movie, that's pretty interesting. And I have to say that I'm pretty happy that they stuck to to producing movies instead of writing them, because the writing in this movie definitely isn't isn't one of its draws. So, but yeah, I love this movie. And the fact that the story is by the Weinsteins, and I guess they get a screenplay credit on it too, but I believe that the story is more theirs. But I really, like I said, I really like this movie a lot. I think obviously when you look at these kids, they don't really look high school kids. I don't know. What do you think? You think these kids look like high school kids?
No, I don't think so at all. I think Glazer looks like he's in almost his late 20s, early 30s.
Right. That always
I
threw
guess
me off.
Fisher Stevens could pass for younger, and maybe the lead kid, who I don't even remember his name. Alfred, I guess, was his name in the movie. I don't even know his real name.
Brian Backer. Brian Backer's his real name.
Oh, okay. But no, most of these kids didn't really. I would say like about 90% of them do not look what they say their ages are, for sure.
Right. Yeah. And I love the beginning of this movie. Obviously, when I say the beginning, I mean the beginning of the camp part. Obviously, the very beginning of this movie is where these campers are going to give the caretaker. They want to give him a hard time because he's mean and nasty, I guess, to him, which you really don't know a whole lot about him. You don't really find out a whole lot about him. But they try to scare him with a skull that has worms and stuff in it and they put a candle in it and they wake him up out of a dead sleep, and he sees it and knocks it over onto himself and burns himself. And that's kind of where the burning, the story comes from. But what did you think about the one thing, I will say that the one thing that threw me off about the very beginning of this movie is most camp slasher movies don't venture outside of camp. And this movie sort of does that when it goes to the hospital, don't you think?
Yes,
you understand where I'm coming from?
It's honestly, it's setting up his kind of return, so they're showing you how he gets out of the hospital, and then there's that random scene. Right. I remember as a kid, I was trying to figure out, I was like, for what reason did he kill her? I remember I was sitting there, I was like, what?
Yeah. But
I always thought that was funny. I guess he just wanted to kill somebody. He'd get a little frustration out before he went back.
Right, little practice in.
Yeah. He just that's total slasher logic. It's just, I need to kill this bitch before I go back.
Right. And I always thought it was funny too that he was in a hospital for 5 years, right? Isn't that what it says? 5 years later, he was in a hospital for 5 years, and then all of a sudden they just kind of wheel him out to the front and say, have a nice life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're like, there's nothing we can do.
Right, there's
nothing. It's super over dramatic, but it's so funny how it's like done. They're just like, we've tried plastic surgery,
everything.
We've tried this, and you never see his face until later in the film. So you're thinking like, oh my god, this guy must be pretty brutal looking.
Yeah, I always thought it was funny too. Is the hooker that he chooses? I'm not real sure. There couldn't have been anything worse out there. Let's just put it out that way. But I don't know. I didn't think it took away from the film. You know what I mean? I didn't think it was so bad, the beginning, that part that we're talking about now, that it took away from the film. You know, like you said, I think they had to kind of bring it full circle with him, and it's kind of all these things, you know, them letting him out and without really being able to do anything for him, and then what he considered, that's how I always thought of it with the hooker, as kind of a bad experience. You know what I mean? Maybe it was her reaction, and I got to be honest with you, her reaction wasn't that crazy. I mean, you know, you could understand her reaction to a fully, 100% burnt face of a guy, but it didn't really seem to be enough to set him off. But it was enough to set him off. And how far away from the city was this camp? You know. That's another thing. That's another thing I thought. You know, did he walk there? Did he catch a cab? You know what I mean? Did he call an Uber? I don't know. How did he get out there?
Hey, I don't know. Maybe he did call it. Well, I don't know. Would the Uber have driven him, or would they have been too petrified of him?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, they probably would have kicked him out. But then obviously we get, you get back to the camp and it shows all the kids. That's another. What's the girl's name? The little girl, she had such
Tiger?
Yeah, sorry, that was it. She seemed like she might have been in high school.
Yeah, totally.
Totally.
There's a couple sprinkled in, here and there, but a majority of them do not look high school. They all look way older.
Right. But you get back to the camp and they're playing a game of softball, and it's the weirdest game of softball. I mean, it seems like there's two games going on, like one behind the. I don't know. It's kind of weird. But somebody hits a ball into the woods, and Tiger runs into the woods to look for the ball, and she's looking, I say, quote, looking for the ball in the same spot for a good 3 minutes, which I always thought was hilarious, and it's like the killer's sneaking up on her, and at the last second she finds the ball and runs back out. But what did you think about that baseball scene? I kind of have mixed feelings about it. I thought it was kind of cheesy at times, but then I thought, well, it seems like it might have been that way.
Well, I mean, I like how they introduced you to Jason Alexander, and I like some of the characters in this movie. But I've heard Tom Savini say on the DVD extras that the difference between this movie and most of the Friday the 13th movies is that you cheer for the characters to live, and in Friday the 13th movies you cheer for them to die.
Oh, good point.
And I was like, I don't know if I agree with that. Would you definitely agree with that?
Well, I mean, I felt like. Oh, man, boy, that's tough. I love Friday the 13th. I love Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
But I seem to.
So as do I.
I seem to like these characters, or a few of these characters, a little bit better. Maybe they just had more reason to be likable. Does that make any sense? I don't know, like Alfred, you know what I mean? I felt bad for him, the way that they reacted. He was, again, the acting was kind of cheesy and things, but I really felt for him. I liked Tiger. I liked Jason Alexander's character. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Maybe I do like these people a little bit better than I do on Friday the 13th. I don't know. Good question.
Yeah, I could totally. I understand what you're saying, and I don't know though. Like, I guess there's not a lot of Friday the 13th movies where I hate the characters to the point where I'm like, oh, I hope they all die. Like, no, like, I mean, part 2, I like basically everybody.
Yeah.
I think part three. I like these kids better than the part 3 kids. I'll say that.
Yeah, I just think that maybe what Tom was referring to is the fact that. Not looking at Friday the 13th as an individual film, but as a series, we start to cheer more for Jason than we do care about who the people are. You know what I mean? And I think that they probably kind of went that way on purpose, in the writing and stuff, because Jason was the main character. So maybe he's looking at it as a whole series instead of just one film. Because I do, like you said, I like the characters in the first one. I like the characters in the second one. So I don't know. It's kind of that's a tough question. I mean, if I had a list, Amy Steele would be on the top of the list as my favorite in any of these movies. But yeah, I don't know. That's a weird question, man. That's something we need to talk about in the future, I think.
Yeah, totally, man. It's like I heard him say it, and I was like, I was trying to go through the certain, individual movies that where I, would say, oh, I didn't like this character, or wanted this character to die. But I found myself very few of the movies where I was like, I felt that way.
Yeah.
But like you said, maybe he was just meaning like as a series as a whole. And in that case, I totally agree. In that case, I absolutely agree. But in like an individual, the first thing that came to my mind was part 2. I was like, I like everybody in part 2.
Yeah.
So that's not. I like them better than anybody in this movie, to be honest. But it is what it is.
Yeah. So this getting back to the softball game. I never. I played softball a lot at summer camp. We played games all the time, but never ever was there not one bra in the camp. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know where I'm going. You know where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I know where you're going. Like, store.
So I can't remember names. I'm terrible with names. The girl, Glazer's girlfriend. I can't remember what her name was. Was
Sally?
Sally. Thank you. Carrot Glenn is the person. But she hits a ball, and she starts running, and they go through slow motion, and the bases can't be but 30 or 40 feet away, and it's a slow motion shot as she's running to first base, just so that you can watch her run, if you know what I'm saying. So
that slasher's done correctly,
right? Exactly. And yeah, you're absolutely right, man. You're absolutely right. This was so early in the the slasher world but it got it. You know what I mean? It hit it on the head, and it's not like this movie is full of things like that. No, there's not a ton of nudity or anything like that. As a matter of fact, there's only one scene, as far as I can remember, of nudity. Isn't that right? And it's her, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't think you see. Do you see Sally naked, or do you see?
Yeah, it's Sally.
I know you see the girl. You see the girl that goes into the lake with the other guy.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one too.
She's the first. So there's 2 girls.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Sally's the first one, and the
shower.
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah. The story is after you kind of meet all these characters at this softball game, it shows the boys and girls waking up, and Sally goes to the shower, and Alfred, who is, wouldn't you consider? I think you do, because you said it earlier. You consider him the main character in this movie, don't you?
To be honest, I think that's what they were going for. But I feel like when I especially on this last rewatch, I feel like there really is no protagonist. I feel like it's just the group is the protagonist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I understand that he is kind of the final guy. There really is no final girl in this movie. And to be honest, that's the one thing I think they did kind of get wrong here.
Right.
Because I would have liked to have seen maybe it focus around a lead girl instead of this guy, because he was very vulnerable and quiet, and I think it was they hit it on the head with what they were going for. I think it's just personally, I'm so used to the beautiful, innocent final girl coming back, So I guess it was something different, but it doesn't hit all the way home with me. What do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Todd, he lived obviously too, right? And didn't they both live at the end, or did Todd get killed? See, I'm trying to think back.
No, they both live.
That's what I thought. Which kind of, I guess we should talk a little bit about. Todd is played by Brian Matthews, is like the main guy counselor. He's like the older
He's the
guy.
John Fury of this movie.
Right, exactly. For everybody who knows who John Fury is, which you should if you don't. But anyways, we'll talk about that later. But to tell the story, he is one of the kids who burned Cropsey at the beginning of the movie. So, right, I mean, that's right. I don't know if they ever come out and say it, do they?
Yeah, they do. That's like kind of the reveal.
Oh.
They reveal that he was in the group of people that burned Cropsey alive.
Right. So you can understand why they chose to have him, till the end. But I just thought it was weird that he lived. I don't know why. I just, you know what I mean? It just didn't kind of jive.
I think the thing with this movie is too many people live. A lot of people live.
Right.
It's kind of like, you're like, huh? Like, it actually has that kind of Friday the 13th 2 syndrome where so many kids get away.
Yeah.
And you're like scratching your head. You're like, how did the character at the beginning that towed their car and welcome to God's country? Like, how did he live?
Right. Absolutely. this movie it has a lot of differences, and I think it's probably because it was early in the slasher formula type movies. There are a lot of different things. They didn't have anything really to work with, you know what I mean? So are you surprised that this movie didn't get sequels?
To be honest, I don't know how this movie did in the box office.
Yeah.
I guess that would be the number one telltale of that, but I think it's a movie that I'm not surprised it didn't get sequels, but I'm disappointed it didn't get sequels, because it would have been one of those.
Yeah,
you could have easily made a series out of it, but they kind of went the route of he's just a normal guy. Like once they kill him, I guess he's just he's gone. I think it's kind of cool that it is a standalone, classic slasher of the genre. But had there been The Burning 2 or The Burning 2 Cropsey Returns, like I would have been down to see that as well.
I'd still be down to see that.
So would I. I don't like, even if somebody if it was sitting on the shelf at MGM for 30 years, I would want to see it, because I really enjoy this movie to enough to want to see a sequel.
Yeah, well, I think looking at, and I'm looking on Wikipedia, so take it for what it's worth. This movie, first of all, the amazing thing about this movie is surprising, which I just found out literally as we were talking. This movie cost $1.5 million. Can you believe that?
That's pretty crazy.
I mean, because if Friday the 13th, which overall is a better film in my opinion,
I
agree.
Just say that. If you like this better than Friday the 13th, you're like a hipster in my opinion.
Right, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, exactly. I understand where you're coming from, but that
I'm
movie,
just kidding.
No,
I'm not really serious.
Well, no, I mean, I'm kind of serious. Whatever. I mean, that's who they are. But it only costs like $500,000. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, definitely.
To think this costs 3 times as much is pretty amazing. Not that it wasn't, like I said, not that it wasn't a good film. Don't get me wrong, but to think that that this cost 1.5 and Friday the 13th only cost 500,000, that's pretty amazing if you ask me. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you know what? One of the things too, I guess you have to think about the fact that they had a lot more cast, to pay and all those kind of things. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Maybe Tom Savini said, "Look, I just did Friday the 13th. You're going to have to pay me a lot more," or something like that. I don't know. But it just doesn't seem like a film that would cost that much more. That's all I'm trying to get at, I guess.
Oh, I agree. I totally agree. But I think it does pay off. Like I think this transfer is amazing looking. I think a lot of it's night shop in the day.
Right.
Like,
right.
What am I trying to say? Day for night. Day for night.
There
I'm
you
sorry.
go. That's right. No, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think
that's right.
Yeah, I think that they probably had to do that, obviously for time and things like that. But I mean, I think the film looks really well or looks really good, and I think that maybe part of the reason that they had such a good copy is because it was the Weinsteins. I'm sure they figured they were going to go somewhere, so they, you know what I mean. So they decided to hold on to a good copy of it so that they could, do something with it later. I don't know. It's not like they want to talk a lot about it now, I'm sure. Have you ever heard an interview where they talk about this film?
I have not heard an interview where they talk about this film, but I think it would be. I think it. It's kind of like their first thing that they ever contributed to. The cinema.
Right.
I think it would be something that would be near and dear to their hearts. But I don't know. I guess slasher movies are just so frowned upon by, especially the higher up producers of the world. And I don't get why, because they're cheap and they make money, and that's exactly what producers are.
Right, right. That's usually what they're about. Yep, absolutely. I guess we should get a little bit more into the movie. Trying to think of where we were. Oh, well, we find out that Alfred is watching a girl in the shower. He says he's just trying to scare her. And were you really surprised at the reaction that he got for spying on a girl in the shower?
Yeah, I thought it was kind of. Yeah, the lead guy went kind of over the top with like, he was like, "You're gonna want to explain this to me, not her." And
right.
It's just pretty funny, man.
Well, I'm just like, no offense, but you only had 2 head counselors or 2 real counselors in this whole movie, and you had all those kids. And did you really think? I mean, it's not like this is a church camp. You know what I'm saying? Did you really think that the boys weren't going to try to check out the girls in the shower? I mean, I was a kid once. You know what I mean? So my point is that it really shouldn't have been as surprising as they made it out to be. The girl counselor, the girl counselor, what was her name? Which I have to say, I found her to be the most attractive girl in this movie. What do you?
I 100% agree. Yeah. I'll be honest. Sally
Michelle.
is okay.
Yeah.
But the lead counselor girl I thought was the best looking, and she still looked good to this day. She
really?
I think she did an interview for the DVD that I watched, and I was like, wow, she still looks like $1,000,000. She reminds me of the chick from Full House a little bit, Lori Loughlin.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which I thought that was interesting that I found that. I don't know. She's pretty old. I mean, when they made this, she was much older than everybody else. I mean, than the kids, obviously. But yeah, I found her to be the most attractive person. But anyways, I found it funny, or not funny, but a little over the top the way that she reacted. She wanted to send him home immediately. I'm not saying that he shouldn't have been in trouble or something like that, but I don't know. It seemed like something that you figure would happen at least at some point during summer camp, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's. I mean, I know they're an authority, but who gives a shit, really?
Right. It was the early 80s. Give me a break, right? Anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what else? I mean, the rest of this movie is kind of follows, the formula. They go on a canoeing trip. I'm trying to think if I missed anything. Obviously, we didn't talk about Glazer at all. Glazer is Sally's boyfriend, and that's who Alfred was staring at or checking out in the shower. So, and he's kind of I don't know what you'd call him. Do you deal with guys like this? Because he seems like a New York type dude. Maybe New York City or New Jersey.
That's a completely stereotypical kind of bully character that's illiterate and whatnot. And I don't know, like I think the guy, the actor that does it does a really good job because he hits it out of the park because he's super like.
You just hate him.
He does a really good job, but there's at least I've never come across into with an asshole.
Check this out.
Quite like this.
So I didn't do a ton of research for it. I'm looking on IMDb right now. The guy's name was Larry Joshua, right? Yeah. He, who was playing one of the kids at the camp, was literally in real life 5 years older than Michelle, the counselor we were just talking about. And like you said, he seemed like he was in his late 20s, early 30s. I thought that was pretty funny. So he was actually older than one of the head counselors. I thought that was pretty cool. But he catches Alfred later on, and he's going to beat him up or whatever, talk bad to him. I don't know what he was going to do, but he's got like a cut off sleeve shirt, and they try to make him out to be like this big muscular dude, which I thought he looked pretty soft to me. I don't, I would have ate that dude for lunch when I was a kid. Anyways, so he accosts him as he's walking away, and he says, "Don't ever look at my girl or talk to my girl or touch my girl or whatever." And then Todd, who is the main guy counselor, catches him. And I thought that was pretty interesting. You definitely couldn't get away with what he did to Glazer nowadays. I mean, grabbed him by the shirt, threw him.
No way. You would never get away with that.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, again, looking at IMDb, Glazer was older than both of them. He's like a year older. Yeah, he's a year older than Todd, so that's pretty interesting. So anyways, the next scene is that they must be having free time because the kids are all out swimming, and this is kind of where you really meet like the characters that the supporting characters, like Jason Alexander's character and
Fisher Stevens.
Thank you. Jeez, Fisher Stevens' character. And who's the other guy? I can't even remember that guy's name. The tall, skinny dude.
Let me see.
Yeah. Anyways, so they all, they're all trying to help him. They know that Alfred can't swim, so they're kind of all walking out together, and they're like, "Hey, man, you got to do it like this. This is how you dive in." Blah 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 blah. And then they all dove in, and Alfred's standing on the edge of the pier, and Glazer comes up and runs into him and makes him fall into the water, and he can't swim, so they have to drag him back to the dock, and he's laughing, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, they pull him up on the dock, and Glazer swims out to one of those island things, island docks where all the girls are, and he's talking to Sally, trying to get her to go canoeing or something. I can't remember what it was. But the whole time, Alfred and Jason Alexander character, and they're all talking about Glazer and what they want to do about him. So that he makes Fisher Stevens go get his pellet gun, and they shoot the guy in the ass, which I thought, I really thought that added to this movie because it really seemed, first of all, Again, talking about today's day and age, what camp are you going to be able to go to and take a pellet gun?
Yeah, I mean, I like a lot of the banter in this movie. Like, I like the whole don't forget to aim, ready, aim,
right,
fire. You know, and like Jason Alexander is phenomenal in this as kind of like the jokester guy, and I like that he brings all the hustlers and playboys into these kids, and he's like, here's your hustler, you know, here. And then Glazer, he brings him like condoms, and he's like, "I wanted lubricated," and he goes, "Well, sorry, that'll be $5." And he goes, "I'm not paying for these." He goes, "All right." Yeah, he taunts him right back, and then he goes, "You guys disgust me looking at these things." And then Jason Alexander just looks at the magazine and goes, "Oh my God. God bless our mom and dad."
That's good. You know, it's real. You know what I mean? It seems like something guys would say. You know, he said I wanted lubricated. He's like, well, if you want condoms, get them yourself. You know what I mean, and stuff like that. So yeah, it seemed like real banter between people. But I thought it was so weird that after the issues that there seemed like 1 million kids in this camp, but you only knew 10 or 12 of them. You know what I mean? I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, most of them survived.
Yeah, you know, I thought that was really interesting how they did that. But I did think it was funny how they kept Glazer and Alfred in the same dorm room, you know, or the same cabin. Don't you think it's kind of, you know, I don't know. Well,
I guess that was your main character cabin.
Well, right. Yeah, you're right. That's how they had to do it, I guess.
It is what it is. When it comes to these slasher movies, I know that we have our nitpicks and whatnot with this specific one, but honestly, this movie and most slasher movies have problems that I completely overlook.
Yeah,
like terrible dialogue sometimes. I can overlook it. I can just laugh it off pretty much. You know, whereas in a serious, you know, sort of dramatic horror movie, if the dialogue's off, it could really hurt the film.
Sure.
But you know, with this, like, God bless your mom and dad, and you know, I want to lubricate. Like, that's funny to me. Like, is it great writing? Not particularly, but it's entertaining enough. You know, that's the thing with a slasher. You have to entertain.
Right.
Whether you're you know, funny bad or actually really good or really scary or, you know, create good tension, you have to get me and my attention, you know, invested into your product.
Right.
And I think this is a movie that really does that. I like when they go out onto the canoes and they kind of are all splashing each other, and I think it's a really, really cool little setup for, you know, what ends up happening in this movie. And then basically they all canoe out to this island, and they're all setting up camp, and you have the infamous campfire scene.
Yeah.
Where, you know, they tell the legend of Cropsey and, you know, how he cried out, "I will return," and, you know, don't breathe, he'll hear you, don't look, he'll see you, don't move, you're dead. And I loved how that ended. I always loved the ending of those final 3 little lines, and I thought that was really a good little scene. What did you think? And this is a question I'm going to have for you down the road as well. But did you think the John Fury scene was more powerful than this one, or did you like this scene better?
Wow, I never thought about it. Man, Friday the 13th has such a, I don't know, it has such a place in my heart. I guess I probably go with that one, but man, I don't really have I don't have a reason. you know what I mean? This scene is this scene's just as good. Let's just put it that way. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The scene is just as good as Friday the 13th Part 2. But yeah, I would say Friday the 13th Part 2, but for no particular reason.
I would agree with you, and of the fact that I just think John Fury's delivery is just a little bit better.
Right.
But I think this scene is really, really well done too. Like, I like how they show each character's kind of reaction, and at the end you can see Jason Alexander's like, "You scared the shit out of me," you know. he's hitting the counter in the arm, and I don't know. I love it, man.
Yeah.
This movie really has a perfect camp feel. You're right. Like I think a lot of people compare this movie to Mad Men as well, and I don't know. I think this movie had a better camp feel and overall better characters as well.
Than Friday than Madman.
Yeah, I know a lot of people compare this and Madman because they're both based on the Cropsey legends. Right. So I always definitely I felt like this campfire scene was a lot better than the one at Madman as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with you. You know, I'm a big Madman fan, but yeah, I would agree. Madman, I think, when we talk about, and we'll talk about Madman at some point, obviously, but Madman, I think I just saw it at the right time. You know what I mean? And because it definitely doesn't stack up. Visually, dialogue, even the kills, they don't stack up to any of these movies, but for some reason it's just one that sticks with me that I just really enjoy watching. I'm not sure exactly.
You want to do that? You want to do that for the next episode?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Get it over with, and then we can, because I'm going to want to talk about it at some point. So yeah, let's do that. Yeah, that sounds good. We have to go back and watch it again of the 50th time. But yeah, I think that The Burning is just. Do you consider it on the same level as, say, Halloween and Friday the 13th, or do you kind of consider it a B level? And I don't mean B movies, but you know what I mean, the next level down.
That's interesting. I'll go technical here. I would say it's like the B plus level.
Yeah,
I think it's above average slasher, but I don't think it's on the top tier with other like franchises.
Right.
But I do think I would say this is a top 10 slasher movie for me.
Oh
no
yeah,
question.
yeah, definitely.
This would probably be in the top 5 because I love this movie. I think when you're talking about the real star of this movie, you got to be thinking Tom Savini.
Right.
Because this movie really was and is to this day still talked about because of Tom Savini. Right. It's not really, we all mentioned Jason Alexander's in it and he's funny and it has a decent cast and it's shot well by the director Tony May Lamb and it has good cinematography, but the real star in this movie are the effects done by Tom Savini, and none better than the infamous raft scene that we should get into because it's honestly probably my favorite scene in slasher movie history.
Yeah.
What did you think about it when you first saw it?
Well, it was definitely I considered it, at the time when I was young, when I was a child, I really considered it a scary scene. Don't you think? I mean, Tom Savini did a really, really good job, obviously, and some people may not know. Most real horror fans, I don't want to say real horror fans, but deep horror fans know that he turned down Friday the 13th Part 2 to do this movie. And for many reasons that we've talked about in the past. But so he chose not to do Friday the 13th Part 2 to do this. But don't you feel that that in that, specifically in that raft scene, that they build up very good tension? Like, you know what I mean? When Cropsey stands up, with the shears, it scared me. Then, I mean, obviously it doesn't scare me now because I've seen it a million times, but I thought they really built the tension very, very well. And, so there are parts of this movie where you see some talent coming from the direction side, you know what I mean? And even the cinematography, there's a lot of talent there, but that raft scene to me is iconic. It's right up there with Jason jumping out of the water. It's right up there with, say, Michael Myers sitting up after you think he's dead and all those, you know what I mean? I really feel like this is one of those top 5 scenes in a slasher, at least in history.
I agree. I would put it at number 1 because it's so unexpected. I remember when I first watched this movie, I was like, okay, I thought they were going to find the girl Karen when I first watched this movie. I was like, okay, they're going to find Karen, they're going to freak out, they're going to go back, and everybody else at the camp is going to get killed. That's when I first saw this movie, what I was thinking. I was like, they're going to find her dead body.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Cropsey jumps out on God knows pretty much nowhere, and that classic shot of the shears and the sun in the background, and they just all go, and I love how each one of them kind of gets it in a different way. Like Fisher Stevens gets his fingers chopped off.
Yep, that's classic.
And I believe the character Eddie gets shears through the throat, and one girl gets slashed in the face. But there's also one that Tom Savini was saying, I thought this was interesting. He said one girl, you just see her fall in the water.
Yeah.
And he says, and I kind of interpret it as that I could make up my mind what he did to her. Did he get her in the forehead like the other girl? Did he hit her? Where? How did he kill her? Where did he stab her? Where did he? How did she fall in the water? Was she trying to avoid him? Was he? It's very like I thought that was a really cool touch that he added, like how you don't see what happens to that one girl, like what happened to her,
Right.
And it's up to interpretation, and that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, I'm sure he did it on purpose. You know what I mean? Tom Savini gets a ton of credit. You know what I mean? But I'm not sure that he gets credit for certain things like that in particular. You know what I mean? He really evolved as a makeup artist, and he went on to direct, and he obviously acted and things like that. So I really think that there was a lot more going on than just him, putting latex on people and making the blood show up and things like that. I really think that adds to who he is and why he's such a legend in this business, is that he did things like that, because that was his way of being part of the the direction of the movie, you know what I mean, is doing things like that. That's how he kind of put his stamp on things, and I think that's a perfect example of how he did that, because you didn't know, did she drown? Did she get sliced? You know what I mean? Whatever the situation was, it made you think about these things a lot more than you would have any other. If you saw everything, there wouldn't be a whole lot to think about. You know what I mean? So yeah. I definitely agree with that. And like I said, I feel like this scene it's right up there with any slasher scene. It's definitely something that people will remember if they're into this. And I guess that's one of the things we wanted to talk about a little bit, talking about slasher movies, is don't you feel like slasher movies aren't appreciated now, for many reasons, but by people of this generation, and that's why. Do you ever think that they'll make a comeback? I mean, say, even after I know It is not a slasher movie, but after the success of It, do you think that that horror movies will make a huge comeback? Maybe the slasher will make a comeback.
I think we talked about this on maybe the Death Proof episode, where we talked. Do you think you could still make an effective slasher, or can you purposely make a grindhouse movie? And I honestly think the answer is no. I think slasher movies were really a product of their time. I think that the early 80s, like movies like Mad Men, movies like The Burning, movies like Graduation Day and Night School and Dorm of the Drip Blood. I mean, you could literally, I swear to God, you could probably go on for about a half hour.
Right.
Just naming these titles. You don't even have to name any of the plot. Just pranks and whatnot. Like there's so many slasher movies. But the thing is that at that time that was what was booming, because Halloween started it, even though I don't consider that a full blown slasher. Right. And then I think we all when we had the two people from the Hysteria Continues podcast, I'm sorry, their names blank.
Joseph and Nathan, yeah.
Yeah. They were saying that Friday the 13th was the most influential slasher movie, and I totally agree with that, because all these movies like Final Exam, they all had this, creepy, mystic killer, and that was what was over at that time, and that's what people wanted to see: boobs, blood, and mayhem, and no story. Now people, like, I had a few friends over. This is a good story, and I think it will prove my point coming full circle with this. I had friends over, and we watched Halloween 2. It was like October of a couple years ago, and they were like, "Show us some good, movies to watch around Halloween." And I was like, "You guys into slashers?" They're like, "Well, we've never seen one." Oh man! So I said, "No problem. I'll put Halloween 2 on. They'll love it." We get to the end, and they were like, "I don't know, man. There was no real story to it. We didn't really care about the actress. There was no." I didn't understand why, and I was like, that is the problem, because these, people nowadays, they want everything explained to them. They want everything wrapped in a perfect little bow, and that's not what the slasher genre is. The slasher genre is, hey, look at that girl's tits. Hey, did you see that gore? Hey, isn't this entertaining? Isn't he a cool killer? Doesn't he move good? Isn't the cinematography great? Isn't it creepy? You go on for days of why we like slashers, but I think people nowadays, they don't get it. They don't fully understand what makes this kind of machine work. And it's it's a tough situation to explain it to somebody that you're just supposed to turn your brain off and eat the popcorn and talk about that girl's, nice breasts.
Right. No,
Like,
exactly.
it's not that hard. It's not rocket science.
Right.
I think it's too simple for people to understand. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think adding to that, I think that we're just too far away from it. You know what I mean? The boom. You know what I mean? And everybody's seen everything at this point. And I think that's definitely. But I have to tell you, man, I went and saw it, and I know we've talked about this, but I'd much rather sit down and watch The Burning than watch it. That's just, that's just my opinion. I don't know how you feel about it, but I'd much rather sit down and watch the Burning, or, like you said, The Dorm That Dripped Blood, or, the Friday the 13th, or even A Nightmare on Elm Street, or the Halloween movies, The Prowler, My Bloody Valentine, Sleepaway Camp. I could go on and on. I'd much, much, much rather sit down and watch something like that than to sit down and watch something like It, or, and I'm going to throw this out there. I know you may not agree with me, but like The Conjuring, or any of the, Sinister, any of those movies, I'd much rather just sit down and watch something. And maybe that, again, I grew up in that time. Maybe that's what I'm looking for, is just to be able to get away from the real world for a while. And, I don't know, maybe they're a little too realistic nowadays. Even the ones that aren't supposed to be realistic are a little too realistic. You know what I mean?
I totally agree with you. From an entertainment standpoint, I would rather watch a movie like this than any kind of serious, 2 hour plus, complicated, like and that's because I love slashers. But I think people now, they are really pushing for, that long, creepy, and they want everything. They want a big story, and I'm not saying that can't be done right, and it has been. You've named some movies that I thought The Conjuring was a great movie, right, that was long, and it was creepy, and it built to a point. It had a good throwback feel, but at the same time, that doesn't mean I can't enjoy an hour and a half worth of boobs, blood, and mayhem, which is the three most important things in a slasher film.
Right.
So I don't know. I think the problem is that people want to see movies like The Conjuring still, and there's
right,
no problem with that, even though I said there was. But there's
right,
no problem with that in and of the fact that I like movies like that. But the problem to me is that there's no medium. There's no, okay, let's take a break from this. Let's just enjoy 90 minutes of a slasher movie. Right. Let's just turn our brains off and enjoy people getting killed. Now people take that as offense to their, insulting their intelligence.
Right.
It's like,
right,
oh, I'm smarter than that. This is just an idiot killing, big-breasted women, and it's like, don't look at it that way. It's not. That's not what it's supposed to be. You're just supposed to enjoy it and smile and laugh. You know, and that's why I think I'm such a mark for slasher movies. It's because that's exactly the point. It's just like, let's laugh and have a good time. Let's not overthink everything.
Right. Thinking about, I think we may have talked about this movie. To get off the I guess the slasher thing for just a second, is a movie like Poltergeist. Are you a fan of the original? I can't remember.
I like the movie, but I'm not like, I don't think it's like a top 10 or anything like that.
Well, even if you're not a huge fan of the movie, I would much rather sit and watch the original than the remake, and part of what you were just saying is exactly why. There are times in these old, and I say old because early 80s movies, where they just enjoy, you just enjoy what's going on. The non-killing parts. You know what I mean? Like in the original Poltergeist, you have Craig T. Nelson and Jo Beth Williams in their bedroom smoking weed. There's not a whole. You know what I'm saying? There's no buildup of fear. They're just being. And I don't think that happens a lot in movies of today. You know what I mean? Like the softball scene in this movie. You know what I mean? There's no, and I guess there is at one part. At one point there's some buildup of tension, but it's just them being that, you know what I mean? And that's what I really like about these movies. If you think about Friday the 13th, for a while they're just doing stuff at the camp to get the camp, you know what I mean? And that really doesn't happen a lot in even a 2 hour and 15 minute, 2 hour and 30 minute movie nowadays. There isn't a lot of that stuff. It's always keep this moving, keep it moving to the end. And I don't know. I just that's what I enjoy about these older films is that you have a little bit of that, and it doesn't really happen a lot in horror nowadays. And I think that's the big difference for me. I think.
Totally. I totally get what you're saying. And I also, one more little, cherry on top of this. Mm-hmm. I think that the humor in these new movies, especially even a movie like It that I just saw last week,
right?
It's so forced. It's like laugh. They basically should put up like somebody like an idiot with like a dummy card that says "laugh now, please."
Right.
Like it's Jason Alexander in this movie. The line, "God bless her mom and dad." That's funny, and it wasn't forcing me to laugh. It was casually a funny joke.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like in that It movie is, this kid is. Did you ever tickle your pickle? And I was like, did he just say? I was like, what? I was like, did he just say that?
Right.
And then later in the movie, he's like, this kid's bleeding. Hamburger helper. And I was like, all right, man, this is just not my humor. Like, I didn't find that movie very funny. I thought it was funny how the fat kid was just casually bleeding out like half of it. But like, he didn't have to say anything. Just shut up. Like, I don't know. The humor in all these movies now are just it's too forced. It's not casual at all. And that's why I think a lot of slasher movie humor is it just comes off so casual. It's not trying, so hard. It's not so in your face.
Right. And I want to say too that I think both of us agree that it was a good movie. I don't. We don't.
Do. I totally agree.
We definitely don't.
It was a good movie.
Yeah, we definitely. We're not necessarily picking on it. But it's just something that was fresh in our minds because we both actually liked the movie, So I don't want anybody to think we're crapping on their favorites or anything like that because we enjoy all horror. I think. I mean, 95% of horror movies that we see, I think we enjoy. So we're just comparing two things, two different times, and those happen to be the things that we're talking about. Not that you need to be a snowflake and feel bad if we're talking bad about your favorite movies because that's just the way it is. It's all based on opinions. You know what I mean? So, but I did want people to know that we actually liked it, but it's just a kind of different like for me at least. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not like I didn't put it over the top like most. Like,
right.
I thought it was okay.
Right. I think some people went with the hype, and then some people decided not to like it at all because of the hype, and we're kind of in between. You know what I mean?
I thought it was good. I just don't think it was great.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I guess getting back to the burning a little bit, I think we kind of talked about all the things. One of the things that I thought was funny about this movie is that, like you said, you talked about how too many people lived in this movie and how, they sent some people on these rafts to go back and get some help, and then everybody else stayed back, and then you never really heard much about the people who stayed back. You know what I mean? I thought that was kind of funny that they really didn't address that very much, which I guess they probably had to do at some point to get the story over with. But that was one of the things about this movie that made me think that there was going to be a sequel. You know what I mean? When I first saw this movie, there's got to be another one coming out. And I don't know I don't think I saw this movie, in its initial release. I think it was probably a few years later too. You know what I mean? I didn't see it at the theater or anything like that. As a matter of fact, this movie, we were talking about it, it really didn't make any money at the theater. It cost $1.5 million, and I don't even think it made $1 million back or anything like that. So that's probably a good reason, like you were saying, why this didn't continue on as a series. But I mean, back then, as well as I do, man, they were searching for things to you know what I mean? They were remaking not remaking, but making sequels to the weirdest movies, don't you think?
Yeah, and they were anything to just rip off Friday the 13th and make a lot of money because they figured, wow, this look at the amount of money this made, let's try to make our own movie and steal a couple bucks. But I mean, that's what most of these movies were pretty much trying to accomplish, and it was no coincidence that they're all pretty much the year after Friday the 13th came out. That's why 1981 is the year of the slasher,
right? Because
you had so many goddamn slasher movies come out in that year,
right? And they made series out of movies that were nowhere near as good as this movie, I thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with.
So, but again, I guess if it doesn't make any, I guess that's really what it boils down to. If it doesn't make any money, they're not going to make any sequels. So kind of like nowadays. Actually, I don't know. Nowadays they'll sequelize stuff. That what did I hear? I heard about a movie that they were making a sequel. too that didn't make any money. I can't remember what it was, but it really surprised me. It had left me scratching my head. But I guess anything to make a buck, huh?
Yeah, anything. But that's kind of what it is.
Right. Look how many sequels the Puppet Master movies have.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean? I think they're on number 11. As a matter of fact, they're making number 11 right now, if you can believe that.
That's insane.
Yeah,
I think like getting into more of the kills with the burning. I like that scene of Glazer. I think that's a really creepy. He goes to kind of see if Sally's okay, and he kind of pulls the covers over her face. And right as he does it, he gets the shears right through the throat.
Yeah, nice.
And they do that gag where he picks him up with the shears and then leans him kind of against a tree, and I always thought that was a really effective that scene. The gore in that scene is really good.
Yeah, and you just want him to die too, so you're like, I just hated that dude. I don't know. Yeah. He seemed like I got a cousin like that. He was just a dick to me growing up. So that's what I always thought of him when he died, and that character in general, just a total dickhead. But yeah, what else you want to talk about on this movie, man? I'm trying to think. What else went on in this movie? Like I said, I only caught the first half again, so I'm trying to remember what happened in the second half of the movie.
Well, I've actually read that a lot of people don't like the second half, and they think it kind of falls apart, and it's not a great conclusion. But I don't know. I kind of think this movie builds up pretty well to a conclusion. They basically send Jason Alexander and most of the other kids back to the camp. They pretty much make their own raft or whatever.
Right.
And they head back to the camp, and then the rest of it basically follows Alfred and the male counselor, and they pretty much face Cropsey in this like barn.
Yeah, I always thought that was kind of weird. The end, where the story ended. I don't know. It seemed like they were out in the middle of the wilderness, and then all of a sudden they come across this old building, or I don't know. It seemed like I don't even know what you'd call it.
It's like a barn, basically.
Yeah, it seemed like there were some like moats around it, or it seemed kind of weird to me. But
I believe they originally intended for this ending to be shot in like a cave.
Oh, okay.
And I believe the cave, the day after the day after the first day of shooting, like part of it collapsed.
Oh wow!
And then Savini was like, "All right, well, we can't shoot here."
Right.
So that's why they ended up shooting in this old abandoned kind of barn place. But I don't know, like a lot of people really don't like the ending of this movie, but I kind of do. I think the reveal that the head counselor was kind of in on the whole thing, and that's why he's back, because there's a lot of people that I've heard say, oh, why did he kill these kids? These kids didn't do anything to him. And that's a good point. But then again, like, neither did any of the kids in Friday the 13th.
Right.
So,
right.
like, I don't know. That never really bothered me. But then they kind of give you a reason, like, okay, he's back just to kill this guy, really. Like, this is the main guy he wanted to kill because he was partially responsible for, his disfiguration of his face. So it's totally interesting to see.
But how did he know he was there at camp?
Well, that's why it's a
slasher.
I don't really ask questions like that. I don't really give a crap.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I kind of thought, like I said, the place always threw me off. It just seemed odd that there was a place out in the middle of nowhere where there was no other houses or anything. I guess, whatever. I guess it could have been there for hundreds of years or 100 years or something. But I think I felt like, I kind of felt like they forced it in a way to get it over with, and maybe that's what they had. Maybe that's because they didn't actually get a chance to shoot it where they wanted it, and so on. So maybe that had something to do with it. But like I said, I always found it odd that Todd lived. Now I understand why he lived, but it just didn't seem to, because throughout the whole movie you don't really know that he's one of the guys. So I always thought it was kind of weird that he was the one who made it, because how often does the bigger, stronger, guy make it? It doesn't really happen very often in a slasher film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. You have two guys that make it in there at the end, and they both defeat the killer.
Right. So I just thought that was kind of weird. But if you look at it, I guess it does have a lot of parallels with Friday 13th Part 2. Just Alfred is the Amy Steele character. You know what I mean? Like,
really wimpy Amy Steele character.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. I'd take Amy Steele in a fight with over him any day. But you know what I'm saying? Maybe that's what I don't think they necessarily intended that, but that's kind of the way it worked out for him, is that he is the female type character at the end of this movie, and he does survive. I don't know. Like I said, they didn't have the tropes yet. You know what I mean? No one knew the tropes yet, so maybe that's why I'm a little more critical of this film. And I did see it a little bit later than I did any of the Friday 13th films, early Friday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I honestly like. Well, next week, if we're talking the Madman, that's a movie I certainly have more problems with, and definitely like where things bother me more. But this movie, I'll be honest, like every time I watch it, I know that there are people that have problems with it for some reason, but I'm not one of those people. I kind of just get over most of the pet peeves that people have. Yeah. Like it doesn't bother me that they all live. Like I think it's interesting that a lot of the kids live and. You know, like that. I think it's interesting and kind of quirky, but it never bothers me.
No, it doesn't take away from this film.
The only thing that maybe bothers is I would have loved to have seen more death scenes, you know?
Right.
It does not detract from what this film is trying to do. And I always really liked, you know, a lot of people, I've never heard many people talk about this, is the final scene in this movie, which is another campfire scene. It's like a completely different counselor, and he's telling the story of Cropsey again.
Right.
And it's basically the same scene, but it's like condensed, and it's just don't breathe, he'll hear you, don't look, he'll see you, don't move, you're dead. And then the film goes blank. And I always thought that was a fantastic, you know, little ending. But what I didn't know was that the director and the producers, the Weinsteins, kind of had a falling out, and I believe Tony Maylam was not there to shoot the final scene.
Oh, interesting.
I believe, and I may be wrong, somebody can correct me if I am, I believe Tom Savini is the one that came up with that final scene.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and he just said, like, they didn't know where to end it, and they said to Savini, you know, you just say it and we'll do it. And he pretty much said, why don't we just end with another campfire scene, kind of setting it up to think like, oh, is Cropsey actually dead or whatever?
Right.
And, you know, like maybe a little sequel bait ending.
Yeah.
And that's basically what they ended up going with, you know. And I always thought that was a really effective ending, you know. And it really does. Like you could like where is the sequel? You kind of ponder like where is the sequel if this is the ending, you know. But I always really, really liked that last scene. What do you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it works good. Yeah. And that's interesting that Savini kind of had a hand in the end of two great slasher films because supposedly, and I know it's up for debate, but it was his idea to have Jason jump out of the water and pull Adrian King in. So that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I like I feel like I agree with you that the intent of the ending of this movie, you think, well, maybe it was for a sequel, which is sad that like I said, they didn't do it. But this urban legend is an urban legend. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? It went everybody knows about Cropsey. You know what I mean? I think all the way to the West Coast, you know what I mean? As kids, everybody knows about Cropsey. And you know, the name may have changed, you know what I'm saying? But it's from the Cropsey urban legend. So I really feel like, you know, that's part of what the ending was about too, is that the legend's going to continue, no matter if quote unquote the Cropsey's dead or not. You know what I mean? And for me, you know, like I said, the name may have changed or something like that, but I knew the story of Cropsey. I don't know, probably around the same time this movie came out, you know what I mean, as a kid. So I really feel like that's what it was all about. And you know, you talk about Madman, you talk about this. Two movies were made based on an urban legend. Not to say
that urban legend,
right? That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly the same exact urban legend. So you know, that shows you how big the legend of Cropsey was, at least at that time. I don't know if kids have that kind of stuff nowadays. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's all been passed on, you know, since then. But it did when I was a kid. That's for sure. You know, like I said, the story, the name may have changed, but the story's the same. You know, so. But yeah, I love the ending of this movie. I think it works good, and it makes you want to go back and watch it again.
Yeah, it actually that's so true. It's such a rewatchable movie. Like I've watched this Blu-ray quite a few times, and I think it's like one of my favorite Shout Factory releases for sure.
Yeah, me too. So, anyways, what else? Anything else you want to talk about this? Oh, this doesn't have to do with this movie, but did you hear that Jamie Lee Curtis is coming back for the next Halloween?
I did hear that.
Not sure.
I guess Blumhouse is producing, and then who do they have set to direct?
I can't remember. Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. The guy from Eastbound and Down is writing it.
Danny McBride is writing it.
So I can't remember who his partner is. Let me look here real quick. You'll know it if I say it.
Well, I know. They made the Alien movie, Alien Covenant, and it bombed really bad. So that when that happened, I was like thinking maybe Halloween won't happen, But I guess it is now.
Oh yeah, it's not even on IMDb yet. That's interesting. I can't remember the guy's name. I really have no idea. Like I said, if I heard it, I would know. But
well, I hope it's somebody with talent, and I hope it's somebody that knows.
It's the same guy that directed Pineapple Express.
Oh, I know his name. David Gordon Green.
There you go. That's him. He's directing.
Oh wow, he was set to remake Suspiria at one point.
Really? Actually,
he was going to direct the remake of Suspiria, and now I believe I don't remember the director's name, but it's going to be starring the girl from 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, I heard Chloe Grace Moretz is in it.
Yeah,
somebody like that. And I don't know. I don't really. Suspiria is not the kind of. How do you feel about that being remade? I don't think it's the kind of movie
you can't remake. Suspiria.
It's not like it's so strong in story that you know what I mean. That that's what
they'll try to do. They'll try to make it a story movie, right. But they'll completely miss out on why that movie was great.
Yeah, that's yeah.
You can't make that movie without Argento. You can't make that movie without Goblin. You can't make that movie without it being in the 70s. The only person that could have made that movie already made it.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that. That's no way will that be a good movie.
Yeah. Some movies
will live up.
Yeah, some movies are just a perfect storm. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's one of those situations where the artistry, the music, it all just came together, and I just don't know how. Like you said, they're gonna remake it with a bunch of story that fans of the original are gonna go, that's not what this movie's about. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah, it's very hard to figure that's gonna have any semblance of the original. Which I hate that where they. They'll remake a movie and it has nothing to do with the original movie. Like, why did you even do something like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I thought it was weird that Jamie Lee came back though. With the Halloween because she was so wanted it to be over with Resurrection that now she wants to come back, and I was like, I wonder what they paid her.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought too. That money talks. But I can tell you that this is supposed to be a direct sequel to 2. Did you know that?
That's interesting.
Yeah, so they're just going to totally, and that's a little, that makes me a little weary because, how do you just forget about everything else? You know what I mean? But I don't know.
I guess they're not really if it's direct sequel to 2 and it's not. Well, wait a minute. So wait a minute. So there was H2O.
Yeah,
which was 20 years after, and that was supposed to be a direct sequel to Part 2.
Right.
And then Resurrection, which was a direct sequel to H2O.
Right.
And then that was pretty much the end of the series. So this is going to be a direct sequel to Halloween 2, but it's going to be before H2O?
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's going to do away with all the other story of what's happened.
That's too much. That's a little too much, in my opinion.
Well, how do you make the fans understand that? Because a lot of the fans they're not really gonna know too. You know what I mean? I
thought it was just supposed to be a reboot. I thought it was just supposed to be like, there's just not a remake of the original, but just a reboot of the series. Just Michael's back killing people.
Yep. No. It says, I found it on IMDb. It says, Laurie Strode comes to her final confrontation with Michael Myers, the masked figure who haunted her since she narrowly escaped his killing spree on Halloween night 4 decades ago. So, from what I've read, it's supposed to be a direct sequel from Part 2. John Carpenter is supposed to do the music for the score for it. And so I'm not sure. I'm excited that Jamie Lee's coming back, but I'm not sure how I feel about the direction that they're taking. I mean, I appreciate what they're trying to do. You know what I mean, as a fan, but I'm not sure exactly how I feel about the direction they're taking it.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to cream in their jeans when they hear, "Oh, Jamie Lee's back," and I'm happy, and I'm it's good, but I don't know. I'm still. I don't know what to think.
Right.
And until I see a trailer, until I see, it's hard for me to form an opinion a year before something
right.
comes. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I know people with that Star Wars movie, with the Force Awakens, like a year and a half before it came out, they were like, "All right, this is what's going to happen. This is what I think, and this is what I think. I think they're related." And I'm like, "Yo, shut up! Like it's a year and a half away. You don't know shit. Don't tell me you know what's going to happen."
Right.
And then like at the, they think they're just like the smartest people in the world. They're like, "Oh no, but this actress is in it, and I think they're going to be ended up being related, and he's going to be a Skywalker." And I'm like, "Yo, shut up! Like it's a year and a half away. Like,
right. Well, I mean,
let's not get a goddamn ahead of ourselves, you know."
Right. Well, to think about it, the or not remake, but the new Halloween was coming out, and everybody's telling stories, and now it's not even going to be made. So there's a chance that this movie falls by the wayside. You know what I mean? You just don't even know. Yeah.
It totally could. I mean, I know. I believe it was Blumhouse. Yeah, he was saying that like it's definitely going to happen. Don't worry. Don't. It's definitely going to come out October 2018. So I don't know. I'll see when I see a trailer or
right.
when I see post production. That's when I'll believe it. But
right.
as for now, I'm happy that the fans are happy because
right.
that's the number one people I think you want to please in horror, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think at the same time, I'm kind of just drinking the Kool-Aid with it right now. I'm kind of just
right.
waiting to see.
Yep, that's how I feel too. I guess we'll wait and see. I do have to say too that I saw a picture tweeted by Jamie Lee Curtis because she announced that she's going to be in it, which is good news, I guess. If you're hoping that the movie gets made, she has announced that she's agreed to be in it. So that's got to be good news that it's probably on track to be made. But I got to tell you, man, Jamie Lee Curtis still looks like a champ. That is, I don't, I know a lot of people are not that never even felt like she was ever attractive. But man, I always thought she was good looking, and she still looks amazing. And she's got to be close to. I mean, she got to be like 59 years old. Almost 60 years old.
That Activia keeps her in shape.
yeah, right. That's all it takes. Couple or 3 times a day in the bathroom, and you look good. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, man. That's the ultimate Survivor girl yogurt.
Right.
We'll see Amy Steele on the next Activia commercial.
Right.
Holding the pitchfork. She'll be like, "I'm still kicking ass."
Right. Anyways, anything else you want to talk about, man? Anything else horror movie news-wise you've heard about?
I know Harry Dean Stanton passed away.
Oh, dude, I'm glad you brought that up.
We could dedicate this episode to his memory because he was kind of a horror legend.
Yeah, 91 years old, man. 91.
That's a good life. Man, hey, man, if you give me something to sign up to be 91, if I lived to 91, I'd sign it right now.
Yeah, and I mean, he did a ton of things. He was in Twin Peaks, but my memory of him is as Brett in Alien.
Yeah,
that every time I think of him, that's what I think of, and I love that movie. It's one of my top 3 movies of all time, and it's sad that and like you said, man, 91 is a long, long life. I'm sure if you were able to ask him, he'd say 91 years is plenty. You know what I mean? Maybe he wanted to live to 150. I don't know, but it's still sad. You know what I mean? No matter how old these guys are as they go. It's just sad that they're gone. You know what I mean? You always, with just like with our slasher movies, you always want to see one more. You know what I mean? I would love to see him in one more thing. You know what I mean? And you always say that after somebody's gone, but I don't know. That's just kind of the way I feel. Is that oh man, I wish he would have been able to be in another Alien movie or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's absolutely sad. So yeah, let's dedicate this to him. But if there's nothing else, I guess, if anybody wants to get a hold of us, FHMP podcast or FHM podcast at gmail.com. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, at Flashback Horror. I actually have been in contact with some guys from 88 Films. Are you familiar with 88 Films?
No, what is that?
Well, it's a small British, I'm sorry, I said British, but I'm not exactly sure. I believe they're located in England. It's kind of like an Arrow Video or a Scream Factory. A lot of their stuff is released in Region 2 or Region B, but I have a few of their releases. You might want to go out there and check them out. 88 Films. They have a ton of releases with really good transfers with a lot of cool extras and things like that. Like I said, they do a lot of Region 2 and Region B, but they also do some Region 3 stuff. But they actually put a feeler out there to be, to do some podcasts and things like that. So they're interested in coming on the show. I don't know if it'll just be a short interview or if it, I don't believe it'll be a whole show or anything like that. But talk a little bit about their releases and things like Slaughterhouse. Are you familiar with the movie Slaughterhouse? They released that, and Splatter University, a ton of stuff that has already been released by other companies. But I don't know. It's still in the works. They actually have contacted me to be on the show, so I'm sure if we're interested in doing it, they'll come on. But I don't know when that'll be. Maybe it might be 4 or 5 shows from now, or like I said, it might just be a quick interview and we'll add it on to another episode or something like that. But if there's nothing else, dude, I guess that'll be the end of the episode for The Burning. Everybody keep listening. We're going to do a lot more slashers. I believe we're going to do Madman next week. That may change, but we'll let everybody know on Facebook and stuff like that. So I guess if there's nothing else, man, have a good rest of your weekend. I actually have Monday off, so it's going to be a little bit longer weekend for me than usual. So I don't know about you if you got school on Monday or not, but I guess that's tomorrow, isn't it? But if you do, man,
I got school.
Do you? All right, man. Well, have a good week, and I guess I'll catch you on the flip side.
Fucking A, brother. Be good.
All right. Peace.
Peace.